Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Our next guest is working to transform our criminal justice system by lifting the veil on the ways our laws are actually generating crime, entrenching people in poverty, and destroying their health. In her new book, The Price of Mercy, she shares these truths as well as how we can rebuild a path forward. We welcome former public defender and co-founder of Partners for Justice, Emily Galvin Almanza. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This book is so wonderful. We could talk for hours. I want to talk about how you open the book with your own personal experience as kind of a lost teenager and your first brush with the system.
Exactly, yeah. I had a really hard number of years when I was a young person. It resulted in me getting arrested. But I walked into this courtroom and got really, really lucky. I mean, obviously I walked in with a whole set of privileges, but the biggest piece of luck I had was that I had a great judge, whose name was Judge Leslie Harris, who had made it his mission to see potential in children instead of seeing threat. And because of him, instead of ending my young life with a criminal case hanging over my head, he gave me a dismissal, he gave me a chance, and because of him, I was able to go to college and become a public defender.
You have devoted your life to this work since then, but it strikes me that I think a lot of people who maybe haven't encountered the system in a lot of ways don't really understand a lot of the inner workings, which things you probably experience all the time would maybe shock a lot of people.
Absolutely. I always say, like, if a logical layperson designed the system, they would never design anything that we have. Like, it's very easy to shock people because when you unfold how it actually works, they say, wait, that's the opposite of how I thought it would work. And, you know, people think you get arrested because you did something, and then you get a quick process through the court, you get your day in court, you get your trial, and then you're either punished or not. And in truth, I've represented over 2,000 people. So many of them didn't do the thing they were accused of, or a victim of bad investigation, or they did something wrong, but nothing as bad as what they were accused of.
Right.
They then enter a process designed to take away their free will, designed to break them down into pleading guilty, even if they did nothing wrong. And then we put them in forms of punishment that studies have shown raise crime instead of lowering it. It makes no sense.
Right, because just the initial detention itself, if someone is awaiting some type of a trial, that can be a really tough time, and maybe people would confess to something just because of the pressures of being in a system that's so terrifying.
Absolutely. I mean, you're taken away from your family and your home, you lose your job, you get cut off. Most people don't know that when you're put in a jail, you're cut off from your existing medications. So if you're taking like an anti-rejection medication for an organ transplant or a really vital mental health medication, you could die while waiting to be re-diagnosed and re-prescribed. It's very traumatizing. 80% of people in custody experience or witness violence daily. And then, of course, the grind of court appearances takes so long, which means day after day of not seeing your family, not seeing your lawyer, being put in a cold bus at 3 in the morning and sent to the bowels of the courthouse with no idea what's going to happen next. If somebody then comes to you and says, hey, plead guilty right now and you get to go home,
Right.
who wouldn't take that option?
Right, and we see it happen all the time, and then there are completely different consequences down the road that you wouldn't be thinking about in those moments of pressure. I want to ask you about taking a different approach. You write about solutions in the second part of your book, talking about accountability over punishment. What does that approach look like?
So there's really fantastic and exciting research on ways of dealing with harm in the community, because nobody's pretending that like we live in a world without crime or that people aren't out there doing harmful things. Forms of reckoning where a person can take accountability for their actions and where the person who was the survivor of that crime, who experienced that harm, can also receive recompense and get what they want out of the process. These types of restorative justice initiatives have fantastically low recidivism rates. And when you compare that to the multiple studies showing increased recidivism because of exposure to jail, it feels like we've been barking up the wrong tree for the entirety of this country's existence.
Right, and when you zoom out, we kind of tease this by saying if you plant more trees, can that reduce crime? Investments in public health and things like that.
This is some of my favorite research that's in the book. So places that are inviting and where community members want to spend time experience less crime. It's really obvious why if you think about it, right? Nobody wants to get caught doing a crime. If you're in a place where there's a bunch of people, you're not going to do a crime. Surveilled places don't have the same effect because a security camera might have no one looking at it. Who knows? It's occupied places. So when we improve dilapidated housing, you see a 20% drop in crime around those houses. When we build parks, improve street lighting, especially if community members are involved in constructing those spaces. The city of Philadelphia did an initiative where just painted sidewalks and improved lighting dropped youth homicides by 75%.
Wow.
Literally saving children's lives. And this stuff is also going to have the added benefit of making our neighborhoods more beautiful,
Right.
raising property values. It's sort of a win-win-win-win-win.
And at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff does save all of us money as the public taxpayers.
Absolutely. I mean, I work in public defense, and I can say right now, the public defenders, especially the public defenders in Portland, are such a good locus of restorative care for the people they serve. Small investments into public defense can yield massive benefits, not just to public safety, but to public health, to economic mobility, and generally to a more thriving city.
We so appreciate this work that you're doing, and we're so happy that you're here in Portland with us tonight. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want to let everyone know about your event. So Emily has a book event tonight at 7. It is at Powell City of Books on West Burnside. We'll have all those details for you on our website. The book again is The Price of Mercy. For more information, just head to katu.com. And we'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.